Hello, Facebook. It's another rainy Thursday, but at least it's still daylight, although these days it does seem to get dark awfully early. I've had a lot of conversations this week about whether or not we should get rid of or keep daylight savings time to avoid these dark evenings. And I just had that conversation with the governor the other night, so maybe we'll see something happen on that, but I think that's a long-term thing. I wanted to first just summarize some stuff on the local elections, of course, that happened on Tuesday. First, to wish congratulations to everyone who prevailed, but also to note and congratulate and thank everybody who ran, not just the people who won. I had a number of good friends this time who ran after working on my campaign, and that was sort of the thing that got them started in local politics. And some of them won and some of them didn't, but they all worked really hard and they're all committed to serving their communities, and you all did an amazing job, and you're building something whether you won or you lost. So I want to make sure I thank everybody who did that. One, the slight negative that I've noted, I think I noted last week as well, was the tone in some of the races. I had a conversation recently with one candidate, an incumbent, not a new candidate, who said to me that this was the most personally divisive race that this person had ever run in, and how sad this person was about that. And I think we can do better. So let's all try to think about that rather than hiding behind screens on social media and saying the easy, snarky thing, but try to raise each other up and listen and learn from one another, because there are an awful lot of really great people who ran for office. So for those of you not totally immersed, I'm going to review some of the results in what happened in the 64th district, where there was not a lot of drama, a lot of uncontested races. Also, there were a number of contested seats on boards of finance and planning and zoning, and zoning board of appeals and things like that, which is healthy and good to know that people are competing for those races. That's great for those towns. And some of those seats, particularly on boards of selectmen, that were uncontested. There were only, in the 64th district, among my 9 towns, there are 8 boards of selectmen in those towns. Note that Torrington has a mayor, Eleanor Carbone, who doesn't serve a 2-year term. She serves a 4-year term, so there was no election for mayor in Torrington this year, but all of the other towns had elections for their town leadership. Only 2 contested races for first selectman. One was in Kent, where Democrat Bruce Adams, who has been on the Board of Selectmen for 12 years, and 10 as first selectman, stepped down. And first of all, I want to thank him for his service and his counsel to me over my term. I hope he continues to be a counsel to me. He's not going very far. So that was an open seat, and there was a contested race for that. And Democrat Jean Speck won that race, and she will become the first select woman of Kent shortly. And so big congratulations to her. She ran a fantastic race. Also in Goshen, there was a contested race. Incumbent Republican Bob Valentine was challenged by a petitioning candidate who was not a Democrat, I think a Republican, although I'm not sure. At any rate, Bob won that race also, and so congratulations to Bob Valentine as well. The rest of the races in the boards of selectmen were uncontested, and that includes not just the first selectman, but all 3 members of the board. There were 2 members that I want to just recognize, 2 members of boards of selectmen who stepped down and were replaced by new members, and I want to recognize both Richard Bramley, who was on the Cornwall Board of Selectmen for 14 years, did a fantastic job, and I got the chance to honor him for his service the other night. He stepped down, and he will be replaced by Marina Kochbe in Cornwall on that board. And then my friend Jessica Fowler, who served on the Sharon Board of Selectmen for 3 terms, 6 years, also stepped down, and she is replaced by Casey Flanagan. So both those Democratic seats had nice seamless transitions from experienced leadership to new leadership, so that's exciting as well. So just congratulations to all the uncontested leaders. That just means that you've shown good leadership in your town. So I'm not going to mention everybody, but I'll just say congratulations to Curtis Rand in Salisbury, to Brent Colley in Sharon, to Gordon Ridgway in Cornwall, Charlie Parati in North Canaan, Henry Todd in Falls Village, Matt Riska in Norfolk, for the great work you're doing for your communities. And I'm sure you're glad the election's behind you and you can get back to your jobs. The two other big things that I wanted to just give quick updates on. One is the governor is unveiling today, I think the details go live, a new transportation plan called Connecticut 2030, and I will put details in the newsletter. But essentially, this time it addresses, first of all, it goes, first at Connecticut's major infrastructure challenge. We are, I think, 46th in the country in terms of the quality of our infrastructure, and it is a safety matter. It's also a major economic drag. It hurts all kinds of, business. If you're stuck in traffic, that's costly. And it keeps people from spending time with their families. It all causes a lot of drain. And so this plan is focused on, it's a narrower plan than the first one he proposed, and it's focused on certain choke points in Connecticut. And there's a melded financing package, which includes some very favorable loans from the federal government, which our governor and his staff are to be commended for having spent a lot of time in Washington nailing that down and putting together a cohesive proposal that can qualify for this cheap federal money, which is good. And also user fees or tolls on 14 bridges in Connecticut. So that's vastly scaled back from the original proposal that Governor Lamont put out. So it looks to me like a pretty sensible financing package. We're still looking at the details. And again, Governor Lamont and his staff are to be commended for really, they've been talking to us, they've been talking to, the Republican caucus, they've been talking to the House, the Senate, everybody to try to get consensus built on this plan and to respond to people's issues with it. And I think I'm going to put out, as soon as the details come out, I'll put them in the newsletter, and so you can look at how it will affect the state as a whole, which I think it will be good for the Connecticut economy as a whole. There's not a lot in that plan that directly affects the Northwest Corner, but as I said to the governor at an event this week and his chief of staff, who was really rolling out this plan, that got them to commit to the fact that what this means is if you have a stable funding stream for the major choke points in Connecticut, which desperately need repair, that does allow the Department of Transportation to apply more attention to smaller communities like ours to address our roads and other issues going forward. So I'm hopeful about it, and we'll stay tuned for the details. Then I wanted to congratulate Cornwall. So when I went to Cornwall's Board of Selectmen meeting on Election Day to congratulate Richard Bramley on his service, I also learned that Cornwall just got a special designation. It has been certified by Sustainable Connecticut as for bronze certification. So Sustainable Connecticut it's a voluntary certification program to recognize thriving and resilient Connecticut municipalities. And there are a whole lot of complicated things that towns have to do to qualify for that. And it's quite hard for small towns because a number of the issues on that list are really directed at much bigger cities than the towns in our region, and particularly Cornwall. So Cornwall, particularly Catherine Frygang, who really shepherded this process, is really to be commended for getting this recognition. And I'll put some more details about that on the newsletter as well. To summarize a few other events, I did the run with the animals last weekend, which I think I mentioned, which was really fun. This was a fundraiser for the Northwestern Connecticut YMCA, and it was at Action Wildlife in Goshen. So it was sort of like going on safari, running with the goats and the elk and the various animals that are in very large pastures and environments up in Goshen. So that was a really fun run, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I also got to attend another showing of the Civic Life films that were done with this time with Cornwall Consolidated students, who did 5 fantastic short documentary films on issues of particular interest to them. And that was also really impressive and a great showing from Cornwall out to see those films. The governor invited a bunch of us over to chat with Senator Chris Dodd the other night, which was really fun because we were, to hear war stories from Dodd. Has seen quite a lot and been there, done that, and has a story to tell for it from everybody that he served with. And so that was quite a fun thing to be able to attend. And just today, I went to the Torrington Historical Society's event, which was the unveiling of a restored room in the Hotchkiss Filer House in Torrington, which was just extraordinarily beautiful. And to be able to step back in time and see that house, which has been thoroughly, authentically restored, is so important and valuable. And we spent a lot, Representative Michelle Cook and I spent a long time afterwards looking at the various photographs, both of the process of the renovation, but also the photos of Torrington over time and how it has changed, and finding, old buildings and what they look like today. Really, it's, towns are living, cities are living things, and it's really important to be able to look at that and understand the trajectory that have taken place in our towns. So a couple of upcoming events this Sunday in Cornwall at the Sedgwick Monument on Route 43. There's a Cornwall Civil War Veterans event at 2:00, which I'm looking forward to attending. On Monday, which is actually Veterans Day, Torrington will hold their Veterans Day memorial service in Coe Park. I'll put the details about that in the newsletter. And then next week, my schedule will be a little funky because I'm spending a few days at a leadership conference in Atlanta. It's held by the NCSL, the National Conference of State Legislatures, that I have been asked to attend. So I'm very excited about that. See what I can pick up. I was sort of hoping it'd be a little warmer, but it turns out it's not any warmer in Atlanta. So, and finally, a little bit further out in the future, there's an event in Sharon about addressing broadband internet needs in Sharon, which is sponsored in part by Northwest Connecticut and the Northwest Hills Council of Governments, that will really focus on what Sharon's needs are in terms of internet service, what could be done to address them, how it would specifically impact your home or business, and the details. And I want to thank in particular Jessica Fowler for spearheading that and for bringing that to my attention. That should be a great meeting. If you can come, please do. So, all right, I hope you're got somewhere cozy to go and are getting off the roads. And I don't know if it's supposed to storm any more than this, but it kind of feels like it's been wet all afternoon. So have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you soon.